Hi, Peter Hayden here, and I help guide organizations unlocking the potential of data, analytics, and AI, particularly with the Microsoft ecosystem. And in today's video, I'm going to sort of step back a little bit around how organizations, and my thoughts on how organizations should be adopting AI. And it's through observations, not just AI, but a lot of other I guess, technologies initially, or maybe more around what capabilities they want to do. And I guess the crux of this is that, generally speaking, organizations are focusing too early on the technology. I was with a customer this week, and we were looking through some of their use cases for AI and what that could mean for their business. And they had already done some work towards that in trying to build that out. And they were really focusing on, well, what does it cost? Like how to implement it using option A, or do I use option B? And they did some really good work to, put on step in their shoes, put on the virtual hat of their user and do a day in the life of exercise with their team, a lot of what you call the business analyst, who engages with business users. And they had some really good ideas, but they were going down, I guess, the typical problem I experienced, and that is a focus on a technology and cost as a first basis. And while it's a very natural thing to do, there are some problems with that approach. The first is that it can be actually quite self-limiting, because on the outset, when you're looking at a technology or suite of technologies, you exclude a lot of others in your thinking, and then you start attaching use cases to that. And it might be that sort of a round peg in a square hole situation where use case doesn't quite work with the way we want to use it with this product X. And in this case, they have started using Microsoft Copilot. They've been experimenting with it, and they're looking at all these great ideas to help their business users. But looking at Copilot versus Copilot Studio versus the Azure AI, and looking at those, like how do we look at what the cost looks like? The other problem with this approach is that because you are limiting your choices, you're also not considering what is possible. Because naturally, when you look at the literature of a product, or you experiment this way, you see it through that lens of what it can do. And so you may not imagine, you constrain the thinking around, well, I only know that with Copilot, so say a use case using Word to develop some documentation, it does something's really good, and that could be really helpful, don't get me wrong, but what else could it do as part of a broader process, for example, that is outside the constraints of what Word does? I'm not picking on Copilot here, but it's just, again, the example. And you can insert any other product technology in there, and you find similar scenarios. And I've found that over different technology types and applications. So you do not find that, yes, you may not understand what could be done. And I guess the last thing I'll say on this approach with technology and cost is, quite often, it was in this case, that the actual user was not in the room. Were they engaged? So while I think a lot of all the right intentions, maybe asking questions to understand what their problems are, like a good business analyst will do, to try and define requirements, I find having them more central and pivotal to that process goes a long way. And so while technology and cost has a place, and it's something that you obviously do want to be considerate of, the way that I find really helpful is using an alternative strategy is to think about a people and benefits type of conversational approach. And so with this, and when I've gone down a road with the technology and cost, we go, hang on, let's try things differently, and an organization really has to allow that to happen. It's not every organization is really open for that. But certainly when you do that and you start engaging, you got users engaged, so your intended audience, you bring them into the conversation. So things like running the right types of workshops, the right structure, can be really powerful, as it gives them a voice to what they need to, particularly the problems and the challenges and issues that they face. And hearing that firsthand rather than secondhand as a, if you're trying to help design a solution or make recommendations, it removes some of that filtering that tends to happen. I've had, when running these workshops, I've had like the project manager just ask everyone they could just record the rest of the meeting, because they were hearing things from end users that they never heard before. And again, through some sort of perhaps an unintentional filter mechanism, they found really, really powerful. That was an AI conversation, but you can sort of see how when you engage people about, say, a topic, say, how we think about the way we do our work, how we improve things, whether it's productivity, or maybe it's a service for a customer, or how do we do something that increases our reduces our operating cost. The things that these people are engaged with every day, the end users. The other thing you need to do, though, is understandably not all users. That term is a real generic collection of the people who work in your business. Sometimes they may not have some really great ideas. Sometimes they don't know, and I get this a lot as resistance to this approach, is they don't know because they're not, they don't know the technology. So how would they know what's possible? And the way around that is you don't have to do too much, but you can do some education and envisioning and show examples, right? Examples of, here is how another organization has done some stuff, say in the realms of AI. It may not even be in the same field, same industry, but it gets some thinking around, I don't have to be limiting the way I approach this. And what it does, when you get the users engaged and you educate them, you can ask them things, well, dream what would ideal look like. Dream what ideal would look like in terms of things you do maybe manually, things are not optimized, things are a lot of repeat processes, or maybe the value you have could be done without at a lower level skill level. You just don't have the people or the capacity to do that, and take that on. So this is a really powerful mechanism to not only just go, what's your problems, but actually, how do you envision? So dream and envision is really, again, really powerful to get people thinking around, oh, things could potentially change. And when we do this, engage users, show them what's possible. The other thing that is useful is go, well, what would that look like in terms of benefits? And by benefits, it could be time savings, like productivity, or things happen faster. Maybe it's a service level. The other thing is it could be dollar related, and those will probably have some sort of correlation. And you can probably start seeing where I'm going with this. I find that when we understand these sorts of use cases. So out of this, we generally have a set of use cases that we will prioritize. That these things are really important or have a good benefit. Is that we can then take those outputs of this exercise into use cases. I might just move my screen a bit. There we go. Take those use cases and we can prioritize what's going to be really valuable to the organization, at a high level down to the individual level. And you can start thinking about, right, well, how do I then understand what the complexity is? And this is a stage where you start coming back to the technology and cost side of this conversation, because you do need to assess, well, okay, is this really possible with current state of the world, or things are off the shelf, or something's bespoke, and then you can analyze what this looks like in terms of a solution. What do you need to do to make it happen? Technologies, maybe you have those in the business already, or maybe they're things that need to invest in, and that translates into a cost. But if you've got these benefits that you've been from the use cases and you can measure that, all of a sudden your business case, which looks at, ultimately, at the end of the day, things come down to what's the benefit and then what's it going to cost and what's that return on that investment, becomes easier to pull together. And you can make choices then around the technology and look at options for that and the cost and how you might then improve that. But organizations are focused on technology and cost, and I'm finding this in the realm of AI. This is not just on AI, but this is becoming more important because I think there's a feeling this is new and it's unknown, but it's exactly the same thing when we came across cloud and on other technologies in the world. There's a lot of change, and so when we think about change, we go back to people and benefits and what we think is going to do. And of course, the thing I want to also sort of add in here, I'll this back in green, is sometimes to fulfill the business case. Let's move this up a bit. We might need to think about what I call innovation mindset, and develop. This is how scientists work, right? Develop a hypothesis and you test it. So you want to test. Do things like POCs or prototypes to build the comfort up. So if the benefit's really high but the cost is really high, how do you think about what an entry-level way is and start there, build that up? And that's going to help you think about adopting AI and focusing on people and benefits will get you to a point where you can start making decisions, start then making the right investments and realizing those outcomes. And then if you're not seeing the benefits as you start those things small, pivot, change, find what's wrong, learn from that, and keeping that in mind, the people and benefits will help you ground you as you do that. I really hope that was useful in terms of a bit of the thinking around my observations and actions I've taken with clients. And if you found this video, please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to my channel, and you'll be alerted when I share more content that will help you with unlocking that potential of data analytics and AI. And I'll see you in the next video.